What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the current data points, what's been coming out associated to the company itself, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. Starting off, NIO is up 0.81%. A lot of volatility, so 444 the high, 432 the low. In general, NIO is somewhat lagging the whole EV sector, especially the ones that are comparable for the short interest. So you see on a lot of cases, shorts returning some shares, and I'm going to break that down for you what they're doing with NIO. Rather timid if you ask me, but 32.1 million shares being traded, 40.9 is the average. As I've stated over my last several NIO videos, majority of the volume is linked to algorithmic trading. Today is a nice change of events. So you do see two transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. Both are buys. You can tell that based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price. One for $373,000, the other one for $220,000. Even yesterday, there was one transaction, 3 on the 23rd, and then 4 on the 22nd. So big money is starting to pay a little bit more attention to NIO. Of course, there's been a lot of macro events to really kind of shake things up a little bit, but still, needless to say, it's good to see institutions paying attention to NIO. And obviously, can you blame them? Looking at the PS ratio, 1.2 is the present, and then 0.8 is the future. So one of the most heavily discounted EVs out there. As I've stated all the time, the only one that's hit a little bit more is Polestar, but they have their own set of issues. As of late though, no actual news, no SEC filings, nothing along those lines. So I've already covered all of this in previous videos. The only thing that really popped up was this. So this came out early this morning, and it did show that NIO's sub-brand Onvo looks like it's getting pushed back a little bit. So originally did have September 10th as kind of a launch. It is now going to be late September. Nothing really crazy. I don't see anyone selling NIO because of this. Pretty much all the big automakers out there have always missed like production dates and whatever else. So it's not that big of a deal if you ask me. I just wanted to bring this up because it's somewhat new information. Aside from all of that fun stuff though, let's go over some data points. Starting off with shorts. So right now shorts are returning 113,000 shares. Like I said, rather timid. In a lot of other EV stocks, they're returning millions and millions. So once again, kind of showing a gap and a deviation between the two. 14.35% of the free float is being shorted. And for those of you that watch my top 5, NIO did come sixth place. So still, it's kind of just missing out on, I believe Rivian was number 5 ultimately, but 186.88 million shares overall being shorted, utilization 84.28, and then short score is 75.59. Shorts have been really stubborn little fuckers over this last little bit, pardon my French. They've been just holding on, not really doing all that much. You see a lot of other stocks such as Lucid and Rivian, they were slowly returning some shares over the last little bit, but when it comes down to NIO, ever since it looks like April, shorts have been kind of keeping it around that 13 to 14% range. So I don't know if they're anticipating some negative data to come out, whether it be their upcoming earnings or something like that. But as of right now, looking at NIO's earnings, 3 latest or revisions that have occurred from analysts over the last 90 days, 1 positive and 2 negative. So nothing really crazy. They haven't announced the date of their earnings yet. It is estimated to be August the 22nd. And this is kind of the estimates right now. So just take that with a grain of salt. Quickly popping over, like I've indicated in the past, I always like to look at a lot of the latest articles and just to get a view on what people are kind of talking about, what the sentiment is. One thing that I just wanted to share with you is this. So this is, I feel like they're just trying to use the Elliott wave technicals, which I'll talk on in a second, as more of an indication that it's going to go higher. In this case, it's saying that the PS rate or PE ratio is negative 3.44, and in the past is led for it to go up. So this one, it doesn't make logical sense because obviously NIO isn't profitable, so it shouldn't have a PE ratio, and I'll kind of show you on that other website in a second. But nonetheless, I want to bring this up because it is pointing for it to hit between that 541 range, which is very similar to the Elliott wave technicals, which is indicated right here. So it does have a pivot point of 404. And based on that, assuming NIO can stay above that pivot point, then it is anticipated to get between that 530 and 560 range. So in my last video, I did say, yes, a lot of the data points are somewhat neutral, so it could go a lot of different directions, but as long as it stays above this 50-day moving average, which is that pivot point right here, the technicals are still looking a-okay and still do insinuate more upside coming. This is all the latest analyst ratings. So last one was done 16 days ago, other one 20 days ago. $7.10 rating, DBS, and 29% success rating, and then Tim, who has a 22% success rating. So kind of the lower bottom of the barrel kind of stuff there. So yeah, I think EV analysts just are absolutely horrific with their estimates, but still, as a consensus of all these ratings, it does show that NIO is at a pretty deep discount because it does represent a 50.4% upside. So once again, I just wanted to kind of share that with you. Aside from all of that fun stuff, this is obviously right here, so there is no PE ratio, like I said, so this is why I always use PS ratio for a lot of common similarities. If you're comparing like Rivian, Lucid, and Polestar, for instance, all aren't profitable, so you kind of have to compare them with the PS ratio. Aside from all of that, looking at options, 736,000 in calls, 2.67 million in puts. Sentiment wise though, 78% of all the options being done are optimistic and bullish. So clearly piggybacking off the Elliott Wave technicals, a lot of the options that are being purchased are kind of linked around that $4.50 or $5 strike price. So again, take that into consideration. Aside from all of that though, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around $5 by the end of next week. And then looking at puts, you do see a consensus for it to be sub $4.50. So in my opinion, I think there's more upside than down anticipated, but this is the current open interest, so just kind of take note of that. So 3,000 at that $4 strike price, 10,000 at that $4.50, and then 25,000 at that $5. No doubtably, market makers and shorts will get very active close to the strike prices. So for instance, if NIO does push a little bit higher come tomorrow, so the expiry date of July the 26th, around that 450, you should see shorts try to suppress it below 450. So again, something to kind of keep in mind. As of right now though, with it at 433, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So 407 is the next strong support, and then 464 is going to be the next strong kind of resistance point. And this right here, this S1 is conveniently pretty much roughly around that pivot point for the Elliott Wave technical. So if it does break below that, then anticipate more so kind of the mid to low threes. So not necessarily the best, but on the actual chart itself, lower percentile of the Bollinger Band, stochastic is considered very oversold, but despite the oversold status, you do see a bearish deviation. A number of retail investors seem to be buying the dip because there's been a lot of good data in the States coming out, so GDP, initial jobless claims, all to insinuate that there is going to be rate cuts for September. Now there is a 10.2% likelihood of a 50 basis point cut. So I think in general that will be the next big catalyst for EVs. Of course, indirectly though, it won't really help NIO all that much. Or I guess directly, not indirectly, but you guys get what I'm saying. So I think all in all, NIO, there's still a lot of bullish data points, and it just needs that nice little push and more so a continuation of buying coming from institutions. So let me know your thoughts. Have you been buying NIO? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with NIO? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Kick-ass deal, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.